Hi guys, today I'm starting a new series on web scraping, and this is the site we're supposed to scrape today. And as you can see, here is a table which consists of IP address, port, proxy type, and whether it supports HTTPS connection or not. And this is the data we're going to actually kind of extract from this site using some Python modules. So we will be using two third-party libraries like requests. Here is the documentation, and I'll give you the link in the description below the video. And another one is Beautiful Soup, which creates like some sort of a structured object of DOM model of the website. So it's likely it's like every single tag becomes an element in one big object. So that would be used to basically extract the data quite easily from the HTTP response. Yeah, and we will also you also would be using site http bin.org in order to test whether the actual our proxy server works correctly or not. And this is done in order to have an anonymizing module which would be used in later used and covered and heavily heavily used in the future videos, I hope. And because the most ever difficult thing in web scraping is not to extract the data from the form. Well, it's also not that easy, but still the most kind of difficult part is not to get banned by the service, especially if it doesn't really want you to scrape the data they provide. And in that case, if you violate then the policies in terms of use of the site, you will eventually get banned sooner or later. Okay, so just to give you an example how we're supposed to check whether the proxy works or not. So now my actual IP address, the physical one, is returned, so no proxy is used, and we would be using this JSON response in order to actually check it out whether the proxy connection works or not. Okay, so I've created a new file called proxy.txt over here, and one little thing, we'd be using two libraries. So this is requests, I already told about it, and the Beautiful Soup, and you have to already be familiar with how to install Python modules using pip package manager. Well, if you don't, try to Google this and try to get familiar with that basically. So because this tutorial is not about talking about okay, from BS4 import Beautiful Soup. It's not about explaining how to use pip module. Okay, let me just quickly run this to see whether the modules are imported correctly, and they are. Okay, now we want to create a variable called proxy list where we would be storing our proxies that would be checked out, and basically then we would even write this proxy list to file. So, well, the very first thing to do, we want to define the response variable and to actually make the request.get, and we want to get the response from freeproxylist.net. And here we say, let me just see, freeproxylist.net. I just copy this and paste, save. Okay, and see whether it works, and it is. And now let's just print response.text in order to see the actual response on screen. Okay, so here we have our HTML string, one big string, and the next thing we would do is actually we would call the beautiful soup in order to make this string request an object. So we define the beautiful soup variable, and we say beautiful soup response.text, and we're supposed to use the XML parser, and this is another thing you would have to install by hand if you don't have XML installed. The reason for doing this is if you just will be using the casual HTML parser, well, if the code here is messed up somehow, some not closing tags or something like that, that you would end up getting an exception on some errors. And in order to avoid that, the way to go is actually to use this LXML parser here. And now we can actually print the BS and use the prettify function in order to see all this text. Okay, BS prettify non-type object is not callable. Oh, sorry, prettify is written a bit different. Okay. Okay, so this is not a string, this is already an object containing its children and parents and its descendants and all this stuff. So we now can do really cool things with this. So now say the next thing we want to extract. So we know that it contains table, so somewhere here there has to be a table tag. So let's have a look at that table, and we go further on until we hit the tag. Okay, so here is the table, and we assume that we have only one table on that site, and basically that is so. That's why we actually can say that table equals bs.find table, and here the table is the name of the tag. So this is known as search by tag function. Okay, so yes, just before ever doing that, well, just print table dot prettify. Okay, and now we are only seeing the necessarily needed information with the IP address, port, the country. We don't really need it. The proxy type, and this one stands for, is it can you parse, can you go to Google or not, and it's not available on the site for some reason, at least at my browser. I don't know really why. And this one is whether it supports a secure connection, HTTPS or not. Okay, and the second thing to consider, that in the table itself we want to define the rows variable that is equal to table.findAll. As far as there is more than one row, we use the findAll function, and tr, which stands for table row. And we also can print rows over here like this to get. Okay, something goes wrong. Did you call when you mean call find? Well, I don't know. Oh, it just can't be prettified basically. Okay, so let's call this. Okay, so here are all the rows. Okay, it doesn't really matter now. And now it's time basically to start iterating over our rows. So we just want to say that for row in rows, and let's just print a single row for now to get the output a little bit more conveniently seen. So we have each particular row here, so it's address, port, and so on and so far and so on. Okay, and now it's time to define well, what we want to do now, let me just explain this briefly. Okay, proxy listnet, can I go there? No, I don't really want to. Okay, it's here. So now we don't really want all of those tags. We just need to be able to get the value of IP address itself, of port itself, proxy type, and whether it supports HTTPS or not. But that's really important. If it doesn't support, the request module won't let you actually to connect by proxy, and you end up connecting via your actual proxy and get banned, and that's not really what we want here. So now let's define the IP, say row contents. I'm using the contents list in order to access the particular element in the row object. And well, this indexes has been already discovered by me via trial and error method when I was writing this program. So well, actually let me show you this. So if we just say the contents and say print IP, that okay, so here you can see the list, and this is the first element, the second element, and so on and so forth. So you can see which one particularly do you need actually. So this has the index of 0, this is the index of 1, and so far and so on. Okay, so I hope that's clear. So that's why actually I'm sorry guys if you hear any environmental sounds. I'm in my apartment now, and guy above is repairing his apartment, and his just make me crazy about that, and I can't do really anything. So I'm sorry if you hear any environmental sounds. Okay, port, at least I hope my voice is louder compared to those. It's not this studio for recording sounds, it's a really cheap mic I'm using. Okay, row contents, and the port has the index of 1, and dot text. This allows you to extract the actual text value and not to show the tags. And I'll just show you this in the moment. And then the anonymity, so whether it's a lit proxy or anonymous or something else, we'll be checking that later on. Contents. Okay, let me just wait a minute. Yeah, let me just copy paste stuff here. And here we would have the value of 4 and secure connection, and the value of 6. And if I just briefly print this out, let's say IP port anonym and secure connection, then we would simply get an error. Okay, non-type row content. Okay, contents. Okay, that's why copy pasting is actually bad then. Okay, so we now it's like kind of the very gist of web scraping. So here we had the DOM element, data object model, that's short for DOM, is short for that. So we had this table, and after the extraction the data using the beautiful soup, we are ending up with having absolutely the same table. Basically, it's not really formatted and printed that pretty, but still is all the necessary rows. Well, not all the rows, but we could have actually print all the rows, but these are only those we need in our program. So that's kind of it. so I don't really need this information for now. And now we want now basically the thing we want to do is we want to choose only those entries, so only those rows that supports the secure connection, and the proxy type is anonymous or elite proxy. So I must say if secure connection is equal to yes, you remember that it has yes or no value. Okay, and then I say and anonym is equal anonymous or is equal elite proxy. So here are the values, just one more time. So elite proxy, anonymous, and there also exists thin that is called transparent, and we don't really here we can't see the transparent, but it really does appear well sometimes. And transparent proxy is not what we need because it sends your actual it forwards the addresses and ports for you, but it doesn't really provide an anonymity. So the server you're trying to send the GET request to would actually see your real IP address. So, but the anonymous or elite proxy would actually change that, and that's the supposed functionality we're looking for. Okay, so in this case, well, if I just now print all these variables again, that you will see that the list would be much much less. So, but should I do this? Well, no, let's briefly try this again. Print IP port. Let's just have the IP and the port, or okay, maybe just okay. Okay, anonymous secure connection. And what's going on? Okay. Okay, why does it print those that are not? Let me just briefly yes, no. Okay, if secure connection is equal to yes and anonym, did I do it? Elite proxy, secure connection. Well, I have no idea why it prints this. Or maybe probably my original program had a bug in this. Okay. Oh, that's good to reveal, by the way. So we say if, and okay, let's embrace them like this. Let's basically make it so. Okay, now this is right. So, well, okay guys, I've just revealed the bug in my original version, so well, that's the reason actually some unexpected things happen while testing. Okay, sorry for this inconvenience. So, well, at least now we know that everything works fine. So we're only looking for the elite or anonymous proxies, and only those that supports the secure connection, HTTPS. Okay. And now let's define the line we're supposed to store in our proxy list, and the line is equal to HTTP, sorry, and plus IP plus, and we want this separator of colon here, and plus port. Okay. And now we want to define the proxies variable that would be used as an argument while sending this to request.gets as the proxy option. So it has to be formatted like this. So we say HTTPS and colon line and comma. Okay, no, not HTTPS, but HTTP here, and HTTPS and line like this. Okay, and now basically, it's time to make some tests, and here we would kind of wrap our test into the try except construct, or how to call this, I don't know how to call this. And here we say the test IP is equal requests.get, and now we want to go to pastebin.org, grab this and paste, and we want IP, like that. And we also want to set the proxies option equal to proxy. So this is the inner kind of option of the requests library, and this proxies is the variable we have just created. So that's kind of it. And probably one more thing we're about to add here. We want to say the timeout. So let's say the timeout is equal to 3 seconds. Oh, that's just to make it not long for ages, just 3 seconds timeout, and if it doesn't respond within 3 seconds, then it will be considered as a bad proxy. So response IP, test IP .json. So here we are creating some sort of a JSON object, and we want actually the origin. And if you remember, we want to pick the origin out of the JSON object, and that's the sort of dictionary. And if you remember what we see over here, IP, so we have this JSON object, and well, when it is compiled to Python, according to the conversion of converting JSON to Python, there is somewhere in the documentations. So this serves to be a dictionary. So that's the key, and that's the value. Okay, so after response IP is equal to the value of origin key. So this would be this string, and then we would just need to do one more thing. We would have to split this string, and using the comma as a delimiter, basically that's it. And now we say origin is equal response IP split, and using the comma here. Okay. And now we want to say if. So after the split operation, we would have the list of these two items. So origin with the index of 0 would be actually the first one. Well, as far as they are the same, it doesn't really matter, but we'll be using the index of 0 to track this particular IP address. That's the response, that how the remote server sees us, whether it's our IP or the IP provided by the proxy server. That's real important. Okay, so we say if origin 0, okay, don't really need these braces here, so and equals to IP. Okay, then we just want to print proxy. Okay, abandon proxy to list. And actually the proxy list append line. Yeah, well, but probably before doing that we want actually to print I don't want to print something here. Maybe print the line. Well, probably we don't want this. Okay. Okay, and in case if any exception occurs, we just want to print it's a bad proxy. Okay. Okay. Well, also, like, then we could have actually, you know, like, check out here is the number of elements to kind of to limit, but well, to limit the, so if you don't want really to parse all the available proxies, it's quite a lot of those here, just pretty lot. If we don't want, we can limit this, say, to 5 or something else. So basically in that case, well, okay, just let's just see how it works for now. Okay, colon here, let's just see how it works. Okay, so it has the proxy, then bad one. Okay, okay. Well, okay, this would last kind of too long, so I just want to add a little variable here, say, well, let's call this count is equal to 0, and each time we're appending the proxy we want to say count plus equals 1, and here we say if count is equal, well, say 5, then we just break out of this for loop, and at the very kind of end we want, say, just for entry, well, oh, for proxy in proxy list print proxy. Okay, also we could have actually print the response here. Request, let's try to print test ip.text, just to make it clear that we have actually the response. Okay, let's try this one more time. It doesn't always able to connect to exactly the same proxy server. Well, okay, and here, as you can see, the site http://bin.org or .net or whatever, it actually says that every time we kind of connect from the different proxy, that's the absolutely exact behavior we were actually looking for. And at the very end, he has written the list of the proxies that has been stored basically. And now the one last little thing here is actually we want to write this proxies to file, and we just say with open let's call this proxies txt, and we want to use the write option, comma here, as file as f. Okay, and we say for proxy, yeah, in proxy list we want f.write the string and the new line, and the string would be our proxy. Okay, let's actually run this one more time. And what now we're supposed to have the proxies.txt file in the folder where the script is running. Okay. So not every proxy works. That's the reason to check them if they are available right now. So it's good to use the script when you're doing some proxy rotation. That's actually the what is this intended for. Okay. So I want only 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, one last. Okay, and here he's done. And I just check up the folder and the tutorial. Okay, proxies txt, and here is the list, and it has to be exactly the same. Okay, we didn't really any longer be printing this to console. Well, okay. Anytime, so this one is over here, yeah, and this is over here, this is over here. Okay, everything looks correct. Okay guys, this is it for this video. I hope this was interesting, and the next video we going to carry on with learning web scraping by doing. So until the next time, and take care.